sunflower clay earrings. So here I am just conditioning my clay, and I chose a darker yellow for the base. You can use a cutter like I did, but you can also freehand these. Sunflowers look great with natural shapes and petals, so you don't have to have exact cutters like I have here. First, I'm just making a base to allow all of the petals to stick onto. And then all of the little shapes are petals, and they're quite small compared to my larger size sunflower that I also have. So you'll want to make these really small, and you can freehand these with a little knife tool. Totally fine to do that. I'm just getting all my petals out, and then the next step is going to be shaping each of the petals. So I have this long skinny tool, and I use this for shaping pretty much all my different petals. You can even just take a little round ball of clay, and I just flatten the sides and edges of my clay, and then I squeeze the top together to give it that kind of point of a sunflower. And I go around and I do about 10 petals for the base. I have them stick off about halfway, but push down the end pretty good into the bottom of the clay to make it stick. And I don't use any extra liquid clay or anything to hold it on. I found that they hold on great just by pushing it in by itself. I go ahead with a lighter color yellow, slightly lighter, and I can link below the two colors that I use. Oh, three colors. I use a brown for the center for these sunflowers. This is a pasta machine I use to condition. It just makes it easier. I get the air bubbles out. You don't have to have this, but it helps a lot with conditioning. I just flatten it out to make sure that when I use my cutters, they actually stick really well. And I get my cutters off Etsy, but this one is missing like 3 petals now. I've broken a couple off. I've had it for a while. But again, you can freehand and it's totally fine. So I'm just cutting more petals. These are going to be the same size as the previous petals that I cut out, but I'm not going to shape them as much. So before I push down a lot to lengthen the petal, this time I'm going to just be pushing it onto my tool, barely enough to get it on there, and then putting it directly in between each of the other petals onto the flower. So there's going to be a lot less shaping involved. But because I have this pre-cut petal shape, the top is still pinched. So if you don't have that, then I would go ahead and pinch the top to make it that pointed petal shape. So here I am just going around adding them in between each petal, and there's only these 2 rows of petals. It does not take long. And then lastly, I'm going to be adding the center. So I just use a brown color and condition it, and then cut out the circle. I was trying to figure out which size to use. I did a larger circle, but then ended up deciding to do a smaller size circle. So you'll see me cut both. Blend it into the petals when I put it on so that they look like they're coming out from underneath the flower instead of it just being right on top, and smush it down, kind of blend it in, and to make it a little bit larger. But it's always easier to go larger than it is to have put that larger shape on and then it smushes the whole work. So I've zoomed in a little so you can tell. Now I'm adding little tiny seed holes, I don't know that you'd call them, and I go all the way around multiple times. Sorry, my camera is focusing on my finger, not the flower. But I go around, and then I decided that the center hole that I had put in was not large enough, so I have another dot tool. And guys, you can use anything around your house for this stuff. You don't need these specific tools, but I already have them. So here's the finished flower, and the next video I'm going to show you how to put the back onto the finished flower after it's baked. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe and see other videos on how I make other designs.